Hey guys, here in the States, we are getting ready to celebrate Labor Day, which usually means one last great cookout. So I wanted to show you a summer entertaining menu inspired by Mexican street food, which is something you can get just about anywhere here in Los Angeles. I love serving this menu this time of year because it's colorful, it's fresh, and it'll feed a crowd. And the best part is, most of it can be prepped in advance. Now I know you guys love these menu episodes, and I love them too. They're one of my favorite formats to do for you guys, but they wouldn't be possible without the support of a generous sponsor. And for this episode, I'm thrilled to be working with Gladiator, who has sponsored and collaborated with me on this episode to show you how their freestanding all refrigerator and upright freezer is an entertainer's best friend. Now you might be thinking, wait, I thought Gladiator made storage units for your garage. And yes, they do. They make amazing storage units that complement your garage. In fact, I own a few of them that help store all the props for my show. I know you guys are always like, Beth, where do you store all these props? That's where I store them. And also some of my camera equipment. But they also offer a freestanding refrigerator and freezer that will complement your garage and offer you even more space to organize the prep. For me, it's been a lifesaver, not only for all the parties I throw, but for all my recipe testing and YouTube shoots. So as we go through, you'll see how they really are an entertainer's best friend. And you can learn more about them on the Gladiator website, and I'll be sure to put a link in the description below. So without further ado, let me show you what's on the menu. We're gonna kick things off with a refreshing Agua Fresca with fresh cantaloupe and cucumber. Then I'll show you how to make some flavorful Carne Asada Tacos, a fun, interactive entree for your guests. Then it's my charred corn salad with red onions and queso fresco. And for dessert, it's a churro ice cream sundae, a decadent treat for everyone. It's the perfect menu to celebrate the last days of summer and to gather all of your friends and family around the table. Let me show you how to make it. First up, I'm going to show you how to make a delicious Agua Fresca. These are drinks that are served all over LA, and when those temperatures rise past 100 degrees, which is pretty common here, this is the drink that I crave most. So we are going to start with 2 ripe cantaloupe. Now the best way to know if your cantaloupe is ripe is make sure that you pick it up and smell it. It should have a sweet fragrance. If you pick up a cantaloupe and it has no fragrance, that is not going to give you a very flavorful Agua Fresca. So we're going to cut our cantaloupe and de-seed it. And then you're gonna cut them into about 1-inch chunks. So we're looking for about 12 cups of cantaloupe. Then the next thing we wanna do is create a simple syrup, which is essentially just equal parts water and sugar. And we wanna do this because this is going to sweeten our Agua Fresca. If you put just straight sugar in your Agua Fresca, you would end up with those little like sugar grains where it doesn't really feel like it's dissolved, and the simple syrup will prevent that. So in a large saucepan, you're going to add 1 cup of water and 1 cup of plain white sugar. And you want to just simmer that until the sugar dissolves and you have a nice clear liquid on your hands. Then you can place that aside and allow it to cool. Then you want to get the juice of 2 limes. And to get the most juice out of a lime, it's a good idea to just rub it on your cutting board and loosen all that pulp inside. If it still feels kind of hard, you can also pop them in the microwave for like 3 to 5 seconds, and that will also loosen the pulp. So we have all of our components ready to go. Now what we want to do is put the cantaloupe in a blender. Add the simple syrup and the lime juice. Now, depending on how big your blender is, you might need to do this in batches, and then you want to blend it up, making sure that all of that cantaloupe is pureed and mixing with the simple syrup and the lime juice. Now at this stage, you have 2 ways to go. You could either strain it or leave it kind of pulpy. I like to strain it because I think it looks a little bit prettier. Now the authentic way to serve an Agua Fresca is in an Agua Fresca jar, which you can find online or at different kitchen stores. I find the 3-gallon size is perfect for home entertaining and will serve about 8 to 10 people. Now when it comes to the water, you'll notice the recipe says 6 to 8 cups. And I say that because it really depends on how sweet you like it. So if you like it sweet, stop at 6 cups. I'm a 7-cup person, I like it right in the middle, but just taste it at 6 cups and then keep adding water until you get your desired sweetness. Then I like to peel an English cucumber about every 1/4 inch or so I have a nice stripe pattern, and then slice the cucumber into little wheels, and then put that in the Agua Fresca jar. And you'll see the peeling really creates a nice decorative effect with the cucumbers, and the flavors between the melon and the cucumber is really complementary. So melons and cucumbers are actually part of the same botanical family, so they go really well together. And then I'm gonna head out and put this in my Gladiator fridge, which is super easy thanks to the hands-free opening. All I have to do is tap on the pedal, et voila! How easy is that? The other nice thing is the spaciousness of the shelves, which allows for my Agua Fresca jar to fit perfectly inside. In fact, that metal shelf is designed to hold heavier liquid items like an Agua Fresca jar or even a mini keg. I also love how spacious the door storage is. You'll notice I can fit full bottles of wine, sparkling water, and even champagne. And in fact, a little splash of champagne wouldn't be a bad idea to add to your Agua Frescas if your guests want a little bit of fizz in their drinks. I love how the metal bin keeps these bottles really organized and prevents them from tipping over. And then in the freezer, I'm gonna store all of my bags of ice for my Agua Frescas and the rest of the drinks for my party. And you can see I can fit 3 bags of ice just there on the top shelf. And then the following day, all you have to do is set out your glasses and your Agua Fresca jar, and guests can serve themselves. I actually like to have the glasses pre-prepped with the garnish, so all they have to do is add some ice and ladle in the Agua Fresca. And then for the garnish, I like to take a wedge of lime, a melon ball, and a slice of cucumber. And what's nice about it is the garnish will just sit right there on the glass because you have the lime wedge holding it up. And there you have it, a refreshing summertime drink that's all ready to go. Next up, let's get to the main event, our Carne Asada Tacos. This is a great thing to serve in the summertime, especially when you have a crowd, because you can prep most of it in advance and all you have to do is grill and slice your meat. So we are going to be working with flank steak for our tacos, and because flank steak is a tougher cut of meat, you really need to marinate it. And I think the flavor is even better if you can marinate it overnight. So this is a great thing to do the day before. But not to worry, I'm going to give you all of this prep in the game plan like usual at the end of the episode, so you'll know how to step this whole menu out. So to make the marinade in a large bowl, we're going to add a cup of red wine vinegar, 3/4 cup of fresh orange juice, a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce. This is a little unconventional, but I do like to throw in 3 tablespoons of soy sauce because it gives it a little bit of salt with a little depth of flavor at the same time. But then you also want to add a teaspoon of just regular salt, some freshly cracked pepper, and then we're going to add a bunch of seasoning. So I like to use 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, 2 teaspoons of dried oregano, and 2 teaspoons of ground coriander. This is going to provide great flavor to these tacos. And then you're also gonna add a 1/4 cup of roughly chopped cilantro and 3 garlic cloves that have just been mashed. And then you're just gonna whisk that all up until everything is nice and combined. Then you're gonna place your meat in 2 separate 13x9 baking casseroles. And I like to separate them so that the meat has a chance to be in a single layer. That way, it will allow it to really absorb as much marinade as possible and not crowd it. Then we're gonna cover our casseroles and head out to the Gladiator fridge. One of the things I really like about these units is that I can place 2 13x9 casserole dishes on the same shelf side by side. And I love this because when it comes time to grill within the chaos of the party, I don't have to go rummaging through my fridge to look for the dishes. They're right there ready to go on the same shelf. And you'll notice the extra thick glass can accommodate the weight of 2 casserole dishes sitting side by side. And because these shelves are so spacious, they fit in no problem. Love that. Then when it comes time to grill, you want to remove your meat from the marinade. And I do like to blot it dry with a paper towel, just so that we get a really nice sear on this meat. If you put wet, dripping meat on a hot grill, you'll get a nice steamed piece of meat, which isn't exactly the look we're going for. Now you can grill these on an outdoor barbecue, or I think it works perfectly well on an indoor grill pan as well. Just make sure your grill is nicely greased. And then you're gonna grill your meat on each side about 7 to 8 minutes for medium rare. And then once it's done, you want to remove your meat and place it on a cutting board to rest at least 15 minutes. This is so that your meat will remain nice and juicy when you go to slice into it. While the meat is resting, let me show you how to put together a simple relish that's going to go on top of our tacos. So in a medium-sized bowl, you're going to add a 1.5 cups of diced onion, 4 radishes. You can dice them, you can slice them, however you like it is fine. The zest and juice of 1 lime, and 2 teaspoons of roughly chopped cilantro. So you can just mix that all up and that's all you have to do. Then you want to grill your tortillas. You can use corn tortillas, or if you can find it, look for the corn and wheat blended tortillas, because I find it gives you the corn flavor, but also gives you the elasticity of the wheat so that those tortillas don't come apart on you when you have the meat and sort of the juiciness of the relish. They hold up a bit better. And then it comes time to preparing your tacos. So I like to serve this as a taco platter with all the tacos already assembled because I think it's easier in a buffet setting for people to just grab a taco and serve themselves. So on a large platter, I set in a little bowl that has some extra cilantro and lime wedges. So if people want more, they can serve themselves. And the little bowl is also gonna help stabilize our tacos, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. So then we're gonna slice our meat, and you wanna go against the grain, because flank steak, you'll notice, will have a very subtle grain to it. If you cut it with the grain, you're gonna end up with really chewy pieces of meat that will be really hard to eat. But if you go crosswise against the grain and cut it very thinly, you'll have very tender pieces of meat, and it'll look a lot prettier too. Then you'll take one tortilla, add your meat, sprinkle some of that delicious relish on top, and then fold the taco and put it into place, stabilizing it with another taco. And as you see, the more tacos you add, the easier all of these tacos will splay out and look really pretty on a platter setting. And then you can bring those to the table and let everybody dig in. It's such a delicious main entree to serve for a menu like this. People always love them, and they're super simple to put together. Next up, my smoky spicy corn salad. This is a terrific dish to serve with the tacos because you can either serve it as a traditional side dish, or you can take the corn salad and sprinkle it on top of the tacos as another topping, which is equally delicious. Now, the big secret with this corn salad, which makes it so easy, is to use frozen charred corn. I know, when I think of frozen anything, I usually kind of get a little just because I always like fresh. But at the end of the summer, when fresh corn is sort of petering out, and then you have the added effort of having to cut all of the corn and then char it, the frozen charred corn sounds really good. So the easiest way to thaw the frozen corn is to put it in a colander and just rinse it under some warm water, and then take that colander and place it in a stock pot so that as it continues to thaw and drain, the water will have somewhere to go and you won't make a big mess in your fridge. Then we're going to take this whole thing and place it in our refrigerator overnight. I love how easily it fits on the shelf above our meat with plenty of room to spare. Now you could serve this corn salad chilled, just using the corn straight from the refrigerator. This is great if it's still hot where you live. Or if you want to bring the corn up to room temperature, what I would recommend is take the corn, place it on a big baking sheet, add your onion, so you're going to add 2/3 cup of diced red onion, and pop this in a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for just 15 minutes. That will bring the corn up to room temperature and bring out the best flavor of the onions. And then while that's happening, you can whisk up the dressing, which is just the juice of 1 lime, half a teaspoon of ground cumin, and half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and some chopped cilantro. And then you can whisk that together and then slowly add in 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Then you're gonna take your corn mixture, add it to a large bowl, and then add 1 jalapeno, which has been seeded and diced. Toss it with the dressing. And then I like to transfer this out onto a large serving platter, sprinkle a good helping of queso fresco cheese on the top, and then sprinkle with some chopped cilantro. And you will have a really beautiful and delicious summer salad that pairs beautifully with the tacos or makes for a terrific additional topping for the tacos. Choice is yours. So now for dessert. One of my favorite sweet treats you can find here in LA, just about anywhere, is a churro. If you're not familiar, a churro is a long, slender donut that is deep fried and then rolled in cinnamon sugar. We're gonna take that idea and turn our churro into a round disc, which is going to become a delicious base for our sundaes. So to begin, in a large bowl, we're going to add 2 cups of flour, a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Then you can set those dry ingredients aside, and then in a smaller bowl, you're going to add 2 eggs and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And you can whisk that all up until combined and set that aside. Then, in a large saucepan, you're going to add 2 cups of water, half a cup of butter, a teaspoon of salt, and 3 tablespoons of sugar. You want to bring that up to a boil just until the sugar dissolves and the butter is melted. Then you can turn off the flame, add the dry ingredients, mix it up until combined, And then create kind of like a little spot in the base of your pan that doesn't have any pan showing. You kind of want these eggs to hit the dough and not the pan so that the eggs don't scramble. And then just whisk that dough up really well, incorporating all the eggs. And then you'll see you'll have this beautiful dough that has formed. So now we want to transfer the dough into a pastry bag fitted with a large star tip. So I like to use a large tip because this is what's going to create thicker rings of our churro. Then you're going to take out a baking sheet and line it with some parchment paper. Position your pastry bag in the center and just pipe all the way around until you get almost like 3 turns. So you kind of will have like 3 little rings, and then stop. And then we want to place this in the freezer because if we tried to fry them the way this is right now, they'd probably just fall apart. So the freezing is going to help solidify these dough discs so that when we do drop them in the hot oil, they will stay intact. So we want to freeze these a minimum of 2 hours so that they really have a chance to set up and become solid. And this is another thing that I love about the upright freezer. It can fit a full baking tray inside the shelf, which is really genius because I make a lot of pastries and things that always need to be frozen before they hit the oven, and the fact that it'll fit a full-size baking pan is so great. But if you don't have this type of freezer, not to worry. What I would do is pipe these out on maybe a small cutting board, maybe you have to do 2, and fit them into a more narrow freezer. It would work that way too. Then when it comes time to fry, you want to bring your oil up to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, which you'll know with a candy thermometer. So it's really helpful to have this thermometer so that you know your oil is at the right temperature. Then you want to drop 2 discs in at the same time. I wouldn't crowd it, so I think 2 is probably the max if you're using a large Dutch oven. And you want to make sure that they're browned on both sides. So maybe let one go for a few minutes, then flip it over until the other side is browned. And then you can transfer them to a cookie sheet lined with a rack just so it catches the oil. And then continue to fry until all of them are done. And then you can dust with some cinnamon sugar. And then to serve, you're going to take one of these beautiful churro discs and put it on a plate. Top with a big scoop of vanilla ice cream and a dollop of homemade whipped cream. And I'll leave you my recipe in the description. Sprinkle with a little bit of cinnamon on top. And then I also like to add some chopped pecans, which is a really great flavor combination with the cinnamon, and will also give you an additional texture as well. And there you have it, a really delicious dessert idea that always wows a crowd. You have that warm donut underneath, and of course the melting ice cream, the flavor of the cinnamon and the sugar, and of course that texture of the pecans. It is really a fantastic finish to a delicious menu that I think you will all enjoy. If you'd like to make this easy summer menu, here's your game plan. The day before the party, you can make the Agua Frescas, pour it into your jar, and pop in the fridge. You can also prep the garnishes so that they're all ready to go. Cover and refrigerate. You can whisk up your marinade, place in your meat, cover and refrigerate. Place the frozen corn in the colander to thaw. Then dice your red onions and jalapenos. Keep them separate, cover and refrigerate. The morning of the party, you can make your churro batter, pipe out the churro discs, and place them in the freezer. You can make the homemade whipped cream for the sundaes and pop that in the fridge. Then an hour before the party, you can whisk up your dressing for your corn salad, cover and keep it at room temperature. And you can make the onion relish for the tacos, cover and refrigerate. Then when it's time for dinner, you can grill your meat. While it's resting, prep the corn salad. You can place the corn and the onions on the baking sheet and pop it in the oven to warm. Then toss and assemble the salad. Then grill your tortillas and assemble the taco platter. Then when it's time for dessert, you can heat the oil, fry your churros, sprinkle them with the cinnamon sugar, and then enlist a friend to help you assemble them and bring them to the table. So there you have it, my no-fuss summer entertaining menu. I hope you guys give this one a try and let me know what you think. And special thanks to Gladiator for sponsoring and collaborating with me on this episode. If you'd like more information about their all refrigerator and upright freezer, you can head to their website. The link is in the description. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoy those last days of summer, and I will see you back here next time. Until then, bye.